Okay. Okay.
Hi, Perry.
Hello.
Hi. So I'm very simply totally in awe of your history and grateful that you're part of our support group network. Can you, like in 90 seconds or less, just tell people when you were diagnosed with prostate cancer
Yes,
and how you came to find the male care support group?
I was diagnosed in March of 2016. No, was it 2018. I think it's.
It would be 2016
I
or
think it was.
earlier because you have an article about it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Then it was 2016. I should know this. I was diagnosed in March of 2016. I had my prostate taken out in June of 2016, just right in time for Gay Pride Month. Uh, so I couldn't march in the parade that year. I was still recovering. Boy, was I. Uh, and I came to Male Care. I think I saw a flyer for it. Uh, Actually, I saw a flyer for it at Mount Sinai West, which used to be Roosevelt Hospital. And I was going there for an interview with in the radiology department. I was kind of trying to figure out what my treatment was going to be. And so my doctor gave me all these people to talk to. One of them was a radiologist in Mount Sinai West. There was a surgeon at, where was he? I think he was at NYU Lang. I want to say NYU Langone, but anyway, there was a surgeon, and I went through this terrible period of probably a couple of months where I wasn't sure of the treatment. And when I finally what happened to me was that I have this friend whom we've known each other now for 50 years. He's a little bit younger than I am, but we were in the Gay Liberation Front together. And his trajectory of prostate cancer was ahead of mine. And when before I had been diagnosed, he'd already been diagnosed. And when I was ready for, my urologist wanted me to do my 5th biopsy. That's how many biopsies I'd had. Mark, my friend, he guided me through the biopsy situation. And so after I had been diagnosed, Mark, who had been in watchful surveillance for so long, his next biopsy had changed. His Gleason number had changed, and he was ready for a prostatectomy. And that's when I realized, okay, I'm going to do this. And once I realized what my treatment was going to be, it was just amazing.
So what brought you to a support group, and in particular, I mean, obviously, because as a gay man, you know, I guess just the name Gay Men and Prostate Cancer drew
Yeah.
your attention.
Yeah.
But what is it about a support group? What kind of problem were you seeking to solve by attending a support group?
Not to be scared shitless, basically. I mean, my father had died of cancer when I was 11 years old, and he was only 42 when he died of it. So that really was imprinted in my whole soul. In fact, when I turned 42, I went through, as the Jews say, Spielches, because you know, just hitting that age when he had died was very traumatic for me, was difficult for me. So then to be diagnosed with a form of cancer was really hard for me. So what I wanted was like some support, not to be so scared. And I believe I had actually, yes, I'm pretty sure that I had attended the support group even before the prostatectomy. So it was very important to me. And I think I attended it for about 2 years. And the first time I attended it, the thing that really got to me was and I even used this word, was how gallant the men were in it. That they were, just amazing. Like they were, I was so scared, and they were not scared. They were just dealing with this in a very rational, humane way. And I found the support group very warm, and the fact that we're all gay men and could talk about sexual things much more openly was very good. And like I said, it really, it took that razor edge of fear off of the prostate cancer diagnosis. Yeah.
By being able to talk about it in a
Yes.
free in a venue that, as you said, has gallant men, at men
Yeah.
that were see you as a mirror of themselves, perhaps, and took you under
Yes.
their wings.
Well,
Is
yes.
that fair to
Yes.
say? Yeah.
Yes. I think so. Yeah.
And
Yes.
that you felt free to speak, which gay men rarely feel free to speak
Well,
in
not
mixed groups.
in a lot of mixed groups. Yeah. No, you don't feel that free to speak. And in this group, you did have that kind of protection. And from what I had heard about the regular mainstream support group for guys with prostate cancer, there isn't that kind of warmth. Although I have not gone to the other one, but I've talked to guys who've been to both. They felt that it was not as warm as the gay men's group. And I'd actually felt bad for guys who are in the mainstream group, that maybe they should have, feeling of more warmth that we do. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're spot on, correct. I mean, I've led over the years, mixed groups,
Yeah.
open to heterosexual and homosexual, and once in a rare, half decade, transgender woman,
Yeah.
and yeah, I started the first gay men's group in November of 1997, so I
Wow.
led those for a while until. I asked Jerry Perlman, a psychologist, gay
Yeah.
man with
Right.
prostate cancer, to
Right.
take over, and then the system just grew
Yeah.
explosively around the
Yeah.
world.
Yeah.
But the idea of general warmth, what I learned between the mixed group, let's call it that for lack of a better term, and the gay group,
Right.
um, I was able to learn from gay men talking about prostate cancer, different ways of sort of interacting with them as a group leader
Yeah.
that allowed me to warm up
Yeah.
the heterosexual group. And now
Right.
Malecare mixed groups,
Right.
which also exist parallel to the gay groups
Right.
and the advanced stage groups, et cetera, um, they're all warm, but
Yeah.
they're warm as a consequence of the lessons from gay men with prostate cancer.
Yeah.
And that's extraordinary. And it's unfortunate that other organizations haven't learned and integrated the teachings of gay men with prostate cancer the way we have. We keep pushing for that, but it just doesn't happen. Now you've been going for a number of years. You're still in the group, is that correct?
No. No.
No?
I stopped going.
Okay.
Yeah.
What caused you to stop going?
Oh, that's a good question. To be very truthful, there were some guys in the group who really bothered me. Uh,
Yeah.
There was one man in particular
Yeah.
who just had this tendency to kind of say things that I found really gauche. A good example was I underwent, God, when was it? I guess 3 years ago, my PSA started going back up again, and so I underwent 2 months of solid radiation treatment. It was 39 radiation treatments, and it was the hardest thing physically I've ever been through. I mean, it was 2 months of constant nausea, weakness, fatigue, achiness. I mean, just terrible. So I was talking about going through this, and this guy, he said to me, well, I don't understand why you're so bothered by this. It only takes 25 minutes.
That's a horrible thing to
And
say anyway.
I said to him, I said, have you done this? He said, no. I said, then what the hell are you, why are you opening up your mouth to me and talking about something you know nothing about? And I was just, and anyway, that was one example. And I stopped feeling that sense of closeness that I wanted. And although I did find that with some of the men there, I mean, who really did want to be close to people, wanted to be, on this because of this situation. And there, I mean, prostate cancer itself, I mean, because it's dealing with, basically a kind of sexual part of your body, I mean, there is a kind of intimacy, just dealing with this, as opposed to a cancer that maybe is on your foot or something. I mean, this is in your groin area, and the repercussions of it are things that you talk about intimately. I mean, like the fact that you're having to go through, like, at one point I was going through 7 pads a day. I mean, the leaking was so terrible. I had to have an artificial urinary sphincter installed, to another operation to deal with that. So I mean, it's a very intimate thing to deal with and talk about. And I guess I just came to the end of that intimacy with these guys. But I was very happy that it was there. And I've actually referred several other men I know who've been diagnosed to go to this group.
Yeah. So the group had value for you, and then as it didn't, you started to notice that it's also a microcosm of the rest of the world, and
Oh, sure,
they're bothersome people just
sure,
like anywhere else.
sure.
So in a way, the group played out for you on the right path.
Yeah.
You found a
Well,
comfort in
I
leaving it
mean,
a cause.
I've
Yeah.
had friends who've had prostate cancer who said that they went to one meeting of the group and just didn't want to come back again at all. And
Yeah.
then I've known people who've been in that group certainly for a very long time, and they may still be in it. I mean, so obviously it gives them an ongoing sense of support. I'm very glad it's there. I'm really am, and I'm very glad I live in New York, where I could have access to a group like that. I don't think they exist in most other parts of the country, that you could have a specific group for gay men with prostate cancer.
Yeah. Well,
Although,
actually, I mean,
al-
prior to COVID, we had 82, standalone groups. Uh,
really,
yeah, yeah.
wow,
And we collaborate with Prostate Cancer Foundation of Australia, Prostate Cancer
wow. So
UK.
they are there.
Uh, oh yeah, from, like, as we say, from Iceland to South Africa.
Yeah,
Yeah, but COVID really knocked that
I'm
wind
sure.
out of our sails.
Yes, I'm sure.
Uh, yeah, the no, I mean, the groups are not for everyone, but
Yeah,
it is for everyone to try them at least
yeah.
one time.
Well, I think that the fact that they are there is very good. I mean, it's simply just very good. And I still remember before I settled on my course of treatment, when I went through that period of, I can't remember how long it was. It might have been 2 months, when I was still kind of like shopping for a course of treatment.
Mhm.
I would just break into tears. I was like so unsettled by this situation that I remember being with my husband on one of these interviews, when I was waiting in the waiting room for the doctor to come, and I just burst into tears. I mean, I just felt so overwhelmed by this, just not knowing what was going to happen. Uh, and I did maybe one other time or 2 other times. So I was extremely lucky. I mean, the fact that I do have a partner or a husband and he's also a doctor, which is also helpful, although sometimes it's not, I'll tell you. The doctors are like what Oscar Wilde said about the Irish. He said they're a very honest race. They never speak kindly of one another. And the doctors can be their own worst critics. But the fact that, I have a husband who is a doctor, so I did feel like, another level of medical knowledge was there. Yeah, that's very, very good. But
As
not
this is,
everyone has that. Not everyone has that. I mean, there are men who are completely alone, and I feel very bad for them. They should really be in a situation like this.
yeah, and particularly in just in the general LGBTQ community, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a much higher incidence of adults living alone
Oh
and
yeah,
and dying alone,
that's
which
horrible.
is totally horrible.
Yeah.
Um, this is a gay men's conference, so to speak.
Yeah.
Let's talk 5 or 10 minutes on what you've noticed as a patient relative to being gay and accessing care. What barriers, things like that.
I've been very lucky. I've been extremely fortunate, and I don't know if other people have been as fortunate as I have been, but uh, the urologists that I've dealt with have been very supportive of me, and my urologist, the second, I should say, the second urologist that I had, I had my first urologist that I was with for about I don't know, maybe 10 years before I was diagnosed. He was extremely warm and very, very supportive. And then he retired. And then I went on to another urologist, and he was also very supportive of me as a gay man. So I've been, very fortunate that way. I don't know, how this works out in other parts of the country, but one thing that I have noticed, though, and I'm very happy about, is that more gay men are going into urology, and they're now gay urologists. And for a long time, this was not true. I think a lot of gay men were frightened of going into urology. They go into gynecology, but they wouldn't go into urology. And I've noticed that there's a number of gay urologists, and I think that I've said this publicly. I think gay men we are changing urology. I mean, we're changing the whole forbiddenness and the sense of discomfort and embarrassment about it. I think we're really changing that.
Yeah. As newly diagnosed gay men and bisexual men and any
You know,
man who
mhm.
enjoys sex with another man enters into the doctor shopping phase of
uh,
finding people, how do you think they should? I mean, should they ask their urologist, "Are you gay?" Should they just do it straight out, or I mean, what strategies might you offer?
well, uh, the interesting thing I'm going to talk about getting about the support group was that there were men there who were going to gay urologists, and they were, talking about the fact that their urologist was gay, and that they really liked going to a gay urologist. They felt much more open, going to one. Uh, uh, I would never ask my urologist. I mean, the idea of saying to a urologist, "Are you gay?" I don't think I would do that, but I would certainly want to be open with my urologist about the fact that I am gay, and the fact that I've had this life where I've been extremely out publicly, and have become, because I'm a writer, a more public person, uh, puts me into like a sort of special situation. Uh, uh, the amazing thing about the gay men support group that I was in was that none of the men in there seemed to be particularly sensitive or guarded about the fact that they were gay. Uh, I may take that back. I think there were two guys who were. I could feel that they were self-conscious about this, but they were going to this group anyway. And I don't know how that would work in the rest of the country, in other parts of the country, but that certainly gives you a lot of leverage in life, the fact that you don't have to go through this screen in front of you of hiding. So the thing I would tell people is, I wouldn't ask my urologist if he were gay. I would ask my urologist, how do you feel about having a gay patient? And how would you deal with that? How would you understand that? And like I said, I've been lucky that my husband has gone to, when I was first diagnosed, he went to several meetings of doctors with me. And that was just hugely beneficial to me. I mean, I felt like I wasn't alone in this. I mean, to be alone with this diagnosis would be very hard for me.
Yeah. The you're not only well known as a writer and as an activist, but you've
Yeah.
also been focused on healthcare activism in your development of Called-Lorde and
Yes.
and other. Can you tell us how your life as a prostate cancer patient, as a man with prostate cancer, informed your later years of activism around healthcare?
Well, I mean, I've been aware of the fact that there is, I don't know if I don't know if there's a high incident of prostate cancer among gay men. I don't know if it's any higher than among any other men, but we now, because of our aging and our coming out situation, there are a lot of us who do have prostate cancer. And I've always said that gay health, and I use that term, gay health, is extremely important to gay liberation. I mean, the two of them really go together. And a lot of people have this stupid idea, and I shouldn't say that, but a stupid idea that gay health simply means health involving your genital or sexual aspects. And it's not at all. It's your whole self. My whole self is involved with this rubric that I am of being gay. Not just what I do in the bedroom or anything like that.
And as you were building I forget what Called-Lorde was initially called, but
It was initially called the Gay Men's Health Project Clinic, which was formed in 1972 by two friends of mine and myself. Yes.
All right. So actually, when you're sitting around the table or wherever you were sitting in the 1970s, developing that,
Yes.
I mean, what were the problems that you were trying to solve at that time? Because that
Got
was
every.
pretty close to
Wow.
Stonewall.
I would say got everything.
Yeah.
You're right. It was 3 years after Stonewall. You're right. It was the huge shame and self-consciousness about being gay. Huge shame, huge self-consciousness, huge secrecy. It was the fact that it was so difficult to get information about issues of gay health. And it was also very much about the fact that a lot of the medical world stigmatized gay men. I mean, really stigmatized gay men with an attitude, well, of course he's going to get X, Y, and Z because he's gay, or because you've gotten X, Y, and Z and you shouldn't have, we're going to really stigmatize you. And there was this whole, panoply of health problems that were stigmatized themselves. I mean, like venereal diseases, hepatitis. I'm sure there are a couple of others, maybe even forms of cancer. It was like, well, if you weren't gay, you wouldn't be getting this kind of stuff. And what we wanted to do was to just stop all that. And we also wanted the medical profession to be closer to us, so that this hierarchy that we have where the patient is on one level and the help is on another, level, we wanted to bring them much, much closer together. And that has happened. And I think one of the reasons why that has happened is that there are so many out doctors. I really believe there's so many out doctors, and there are also so many doctors who, are not gay, but who understand what it's like to be going through these problems and how they should not be stigmatized. And there's been I think a real revolution in healthcare in this country certainly for gay men, certainly for women, certainly for people of color, certainly for transgendered people. I mean, there's been a revolution in healthcare for them. They're no longer we are no longer just swept under the floor or under the rug. Before certainly the Health Project Clinic happened, if you happen to have, if you had contracted a form of venereal disease, let's say, the your only recourse for treatment was to go to certain doctors who were, quote, gay doctors, who would overcharge the crap out of you and make you feel even worse. And this has really changed. I'm very happy about that.
Yeah. And your work also predated HIV, which,
Yes,
you know,
yes,
sort of in many lay people's minds, and certainly in, the non-LGBT community, HIV defines gay health to a
yeah.
large
Well,
degree.
it shouldn't.
Of course not, but
It
yeah,
should be on the
yeah,
parameters of it,
yeah.
but it shouldn't define it. But what we did back in 1972 was we very much advocated for the use of condoms, that gay men should use condoms. I mean, really back then. And we used to give them out at the clinic and we would talk about them. But it was very hard for us to really push them. And the reason why was that, well, A, so many gay men were still very sex phobic, as the whole culture was. And B, their only relationship to condoms was as a birth control device. And
Mm,
since they didn't need birth control, they didn't understand why they should use condoms.
yeah. What do you think, top three takeaways for a gay man newly diagnosed with prostate cancer? What would you offer them as, like, you meet them somewhere on the train or whatever, and you got, 15 minutes to talk with them. What are the top three things you're going to share?
I would, well, A, you need to go to a doctor who is really open towards you. You feel really confident with. And they are here. I mean, certainly in New York. I mean, there are a number of doctors that I would recommend going to. That would be number one. Number two, find out what your options are, and maybe interview several doctors about this. And number three, get some support. Have a support network around you. I mean, it could be the support group. It could be friends that you feel close to, because it's a very isolating disease to have. It's a hard disease to have. I remember when I was first diagnosed, it was very hard for me to tell people that I had prostate cancer. Uh, it was like just a whole push for me to even talk about it. So I see how isolating it is.
Let's dig a little deeper. What actually made it difficult for you to share that?
Oh, well, like I said, my father had died of prostate cancer, but there's also just the idea that it is in a basically sexual part of your body, and uh, it's like a very private part of your body. It's not like you're having stomach cancer, neck cancer. Uh, you know, it's like just this very private part of it. I mean, I don't know if it would be worse than having penile cancer, which is a terrible thing to have. But there is that aspect to it. Yes.
Yeah, and it's interesting also, as somebody who's observed gay men and straight men,
Yeah.
over for 24 years.
Right.
Straight men will almost, I mean, I can't recall at this moment anyone ever suggesting that prostate cancer is a sexually focused disease or cancer type, as
Yeah.
opposed to gay men,
Yeah.
which, just as you just did,
Right.
much more often than not
Oh,
are
yes.
characterized
Yeah.
that way. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And just around and just to clear up a couple of things, there's no evidence that suggests that gay men have are more or less likely to have prostate cancer.
Yes.
Uh,
I
se-
did think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and just so people
Uh,
watching this are
yeah.
clear on this,
Right. Exactly.
sexual activity, gay in sort of anal sex,
Right.
enjoying prostate massage, none of that has been shown to instigate prostate cancer.
No. Yes, I
Um,
understand.
yeah, I mean, gay sex, so to speak, is okay
Yeah.
vis-a-vis prostate cancer.
Right.
Um, but and also of all the men that I know that have had penile cancer, they've all been heterosexual. That's not to say gay men don't have penile cancer or don't get it, but I've just it's just that's how they've come my way, so to speak.
I,
Uh, you know.
I think one of the things that also is a bother was a bother when I was diagnosed was that because prostate cancer has become very prevalent. I think it's now, is it 18% of the male population? Is it that high?
Everyone, every year it's either one out of six, one out of seven, one out of eight, one out of nine. I think this
Yeah,
year it's
well,
one out of nine. No
yeah,
one really has a good understanding of that. Yeah.
but so it's uh, more than 10%, certainly
Oh
more
yeah, yeah,
than
yeah, yeah.
because it is so prevalent, and some numbers of famous people have died of it. New York's richest citizen just died of it last year, David Koch.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
like if New York's richest citizen cannot beat prostate cancer, it's very scary. Uh, but because of that, I had several people when I did finally tell them, they said, "Oh, well, there are a lot worse forms of cancer you can have," and uh, I really bridled at that because I've read somewhere between 24 and 35,000 men a year die from it. So it's
but
not like no one dies of this disease.
you raise an interesting thing. So Malecare is based in New York City.
That's
That's where our first groups are. That's where I'm located. Those are the groups I've led. And as a clinician, I've had patients that are all pretty much from either New York or Paris or London when they
right,
fly in, that kind of thing.
right,
And most of the patients that I've had are, upper middle class or men
yeah,
of high net value kind of
right,
thing. And of the men of high net value, the multimillionaires, um, someone very close to being a billionaire, if not he is or was, those who have passed, including this close to being a billionaire guy, to me, that sort of represents a way to reduce anxiety because it levels the playing field. Even those folks with private planes and access to any doctor they want on the planet, because they could say, see me tomorrow morning and I'll give you $1 million check for your
right,
clinic as a charitable donation. And they do that.
good,
Even the care they get is rarely, a significant level higher than the care that you and I might get.
yeah,
And another step down for men, let's say homeless men or men of, economically challenged, people of color, people in rural areas, on and on and on. The level of care is really not that lesser for them
yeah,
because the access to care is really the challenge, but the type of care, the type of therapies
yeah,
are universal, at least in a
right,
developed country.
yes,
Your treatment, your surgery is no different than someone else's in the United States.
right,
Except, you shouldn't really submit to someone doing surgery for the first time. But, I mean, I wouldn't submit to a dentist who's pulling a tooth for the first time. I mean, I could do that one,
yeah,
give me a wrench or whatever, pliers. But the idea of, wealthy people don't have that great an advantage when it comes to prostate cancer,
yeah.
you know? Um,
It is a great leveler. It's
yeah,
it is a great leveler. Although I've heard that the percentage of men of color dying of prostate cancer is higher.
because
And I mean, I'm sure there's several reasons why this is so, and I feel very bad about that. I feel
no,
that
yeah,
they a part of it is simply that uh, uh, they're just not aware of of this disease and what they can do to diagnose it, and one of my closest friends, he was diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer because he's lived most of his life now in UK. And in UK, they do not take PSA readings. The National Health will not support it. And I just find that just tragic. I mean, this poor guy was diagnosed at stage 4.
Yeah, and there are people in lesser developed countries or what have you who are never diagnosed but do in fact die from
Yeah.
prostate cancer. Around the black men thing, it's 2.4 times the rate of death as white men. Imagine that for a gay man of color.
Right.
But most of that is around access to care.
Yes.
When you look at the military, where access to care is pretty much leveled out,
Yes.
there's hardly any significant disparity between white and black soldiers, let's say,
Well,
so there's a lot about racism that plays into care, a lot about what zip code you grew up in,
sure.
things like that, and health literacy, not wanting to be treated,
Yeah.
for anything, toothache
Well,
or prostate cancer.
I'd had a raised PSA for so long that I've been on this watch for it now for 20 years.
Hmm.
And I think I've been lucky in the fact that 20 years ago, the doctor that I had at the time said, "You've got to start watching out for this." And she sent me to a urologist. And so a lot of people just will not be in that situation.
Perry, a lot of people watching this are know that you have prostate cancer and have been treated for it, but would like to know how you're doing now.
I'm doing fairly okay. I'm still having, and I don't know when it's ever going to stop, problems, reactions from the radiation treatment, and that's been difficult. I still have some leaking. I still have some fecal problems from this intense radiation treatment, but I'm aside from that, I'm in great health.
Good. And you're still active as an activist, as a writer.
Sure,
Yeah, and as a man living his life, enjoying
sure.
life.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yes,
yeah,
very much. Yes,
yeah,
very, very much. Yes.
yeah. And that's important. I mean, Mailcare's tagline used to be "Men fighting cancer together." We still keep
Right,
that because it's
right.
pithy and fun to say. But I think the more potent tagline that we have and more accurate is that we help men live longer and happier lives, with an emphasis on the happy part.
That's
Because
wonderful.
yeah,
That's
be-
wonderful. And also, just the whole idea of humanizing men, which is so important in our culture. Uh, the whole role of men in our culture is really changing. I've seen the changes in the last certainly 20 years, or yeah, about 20 years. And the idea that men deserve happiness, deserve healthiness. It's not something manly to, not have to be happy. You can tough it out. I think that's very good.
Perry, I'm in awe of you and your life history, and
Thank you.
I'm grateful that you've found your way to mail care, and all of us here are just honored that we were able to participate in your care,
Thank
and
you.
we're always here for you.
Thank you very
Uh,
much.
and thank you for being part of our conference.
Great.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Okay.